Fuel scarcity and lack of Naira notes, both old and new, are not in circulation, and this has brought untold hardship to Nigerians in the last few months, starting from last year. Well, it's been quite a struggle for businesses to run smoothly, as essentials like petrol require staying on long queues before it can be bought, while our physical cash is hard to come by, either at the banks, point of sales, and automated television ports. Now, matters are even worse as online banking platforms are erratic in fund transfer. Perpetua Fasome Peters is currently live on the show from a major filling station in Lagos, and she has been finding out how pumps and citizens are coping with the tools of trade. But before we engage her, let's take some quick response from Nigerians as regards these scarcities.
To do with cashless policy, it has not been any way encouraging or standard. The time came that the Supreme Court passed a law that should be collecting the old notes, but the filling station will just collect it. In which I believe that if the station was collecting the cash, the old note, there's nobody that doesn't have a generator at home, and there's no one that doesn't move around. So with that, the money will be able to circulate, and people will be able to have transaction done in a more convenient way, but they are not collecting, and the bank says that should be collected. So the whole thing are just a little bit very, very difficult for the masses. My experience in Naira, sometimes I have to struggle to get cash to give them. If I don't have cash to give to them, then I have to transfer and make sure that there is an alert, that they get an alert before I leave. And that's actually causing a lot of things. Because they tell you not to go until they get the alert on their own account before they allow you to go. So my experience in that area too is going to write my about.
And that's one of the challenges that the Nigerians are facing as of now, even as fuel scarcity has persisted. And of course, it's even still hard to get physical cash to purchase this particular commodity. Let me quickly go over to Perpetua. Perpetua, you have visited a couple of filling stations. I'd like you to give us an update of what is going on at these pump stations and what Nigerians are saying, both the sellers and the buyers of this commodity, and the fact that it's been hard to even get money to buy fuel at the stations. Perpetua.
Thank you so much, Lekon. Well, we've been to about 3 filling stations today, and the story remains the same. What has been happening is that to a very large extent, we see that people are having to probably pay a whole lot to get this.
Hello, Perpetua, can you hear me?
But I can hear you, but I'm having a terrible feedback. If that can be addressed, that would be better.
Hello, Perpetua, can you hear me? Well, if you can hear me, we'd like to know what obtains in the filling stations that you have spied or checked in the last couple of hours to see how Nigerians are grappling with the cash crunch and the fuel scarcity as it obtains at the pump station. So, Perpetua, if you can hear me, I'd like to get an update from you.
All right, thank you so much, Lekon. Well, I've been to 3 filling stations today, and the story remains the same. Luckily, here on the island, some of the filling stations here are not asking for cash. All they want is for you to be able to pay. Either you're able to transfer or you're also able to use the POS. Again, I'm getting this feedback. If that can be addressed, please, so I can speak better.
All right, well, I can hear you. We can hear you from the studios. But then looking at the issue of this fuel scarcity, as it were, do we still have queues in the various places that you visited? Do we still have long queues? And why is that? Because we have gotten reports that we have enough fuel to cover the entire nation. So why is it that we still have this sort of slow dragging, as it were, at the pump stations?
All right, to a very large extent, from the filling stations that I have been to today, I do not think they have the large queues as much as one would expect. I think the queues are just normal, especially because we're experiencing a cash crunch, and that is affecting people at various levels, basically. So for the filling stations that I have visited today, they do not have any problem, just few queues, and the queues could be as a result of the fact that the stations didn't start dispensing early enough. And so the moment the station starts dispensing, you find out that before before you know what's happening, the queues are disappearing and people are getting the commodity. So basically, I won't say that we have queues. I would rather say that some of the filling stations probably are not opening early enough. But when they eventually do, sometimes they're open, but they're not ready to sell yet. And, some of them are not even willing to speak. We've tried to speak to some of them so they could tell us what the situation is from their own end, but they're not willing to speak. So at the end of the day, we just have to make do with the information we have, which is how that the people who are buying these commodities are having to, go through a whole lot to get these commodities. Now, I would like to also mention that to some filling stations that I probably visited over the weekend, especially on the mainland, what we have happening there is that some of these attendants are saying that you have to buy the commodity with cash. And that is not possible because a lot of persons are not even able to access this cash. We know what the problem is, we know what the challenge is, and unfortunately we're talking about a cashless society, but we're talking about a cashless society, but that we're not even doing the needful to ensure that the system works, and that the system allows that people are able to get the things or the commodities that they need. It's just unfortunate, really, what's happening right now. And I would just hope that this will be addressed, just maybe after the elections, because it would seem that in some quarters it is believed that we're having this kind of situation because somehow we're trying to address vote buying. So let's hope that's what the situation is, and let's hope that by March 18th, after the gubernatorial election and state houses of assembly elections, let's hope that we'll have, an official directive telling us which direction to go, if we are to follow the Supreme Court's ruling or we are not to follow the Supreme Court's ruling, because I think it's important to note that some persons have said the Supreme Court's ruling is an academic exercise which holds no water, saying that the Supreme Court does not even have the power to speak on issues like this. There's been that talk about jurisdiction, there's been that talk about who should speak, who not to speak. I've also had situations where some persons claim to have heard from the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and at the end of the day, the Central Bank of Nigeria comes out to say, no, you didn't hear from us. They debunk it. So I think we just have to keep waiting and know if all this will end after the elections that will hold on March the 18th.
Okay, thank you so much, Perpetua. I would have loved to engage you more, but then we are pressed for time. Well, the federal government has been coy on this particular matter since last week that we visited it, and it's been a bit of a challenge for people to know what they need to do part-time. But then let's continue to monitor the situation and see what respite can come the way of Nigerians as regards fuel scarcity and cash crunch. That is where we draw the curtains on Business Edge for this morning. You can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also head to our website www.newscentral.africa and download our mobile app on App Store and Play Store, because we have so many information for your consumption right there on those platforms. My name is Lekon Obanjo. Have a wonderful day.